Think about the last time someone said they were fine, but you knew they weren't. Or the last time you canceled plans just to see who would follow up. Or the last time you stayed quiet in an argument, not because you had nothing to say, but because you wanted to see what the other person would do next. You probably didn't call it a test, you called it overthinking or being tired or just seeing what happens. But psychology has a different name for it. Testing behavior is not something people consciously decide to do. It doesn't start with a plan, it starts with a wound. When someone has been hurt in relationships, abandoned, betrayed, or simply let down too many times, the brain begins to protect itself. And one of the most common ways it does that is by creating small, invisible tests. Will you stay if I pull away? Will you notice if I go quiet? Will you choose me even when I'm difficult? These aren't questions people ask out loud. They're questions the brain asks silently, through behavior, through distance, through the things left unsaid. Attachment researchers call this a form of hypervigilance, a state where the nervous system is constantly scanning relationships for signs of danger. John Bowlby, who spent decades studying how early bonds shape adult behavior, found that people who experienced inconsistent care as children grow up with a particular kind of alertness. They love deeply, but they also watch carefully, because love in their experience was never something they could simply trust, so they test. Not to be difficult, but because somewhere inside, they need to know the answer before they allow themselves to believe. What makes this complicated is that most people who do this have no idea they're doing it. They genuinely believe they're just being quiet, just taking space, just waiting to see what happens naturally, but the brain is not passive in these moments. It is collecting data. It is noting who reached out and who didn't, who showed up and who disappeared, who handled the silence and who walked away from it. And based on those results, it decides how much to let someone in. There is something quietly exhausting about living this way, because the tests never fully end. Even when someone passes, the brain finds a new one, a harder one, a more revealing one. Not out of cruelty, but because the fear underneath hasn't healed yet. Neuroscience shows us that the brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, doesn't distinguish between physical danger and emotional risk. To a nervous system shaped by loss, the possibility of being left feels as real and immediate as any physical threat, so it stays alert. It keeps testing, it keeps watching. But here's what most people who do this don't realize. The very behavior meant to protect them often pushes away the people most capable of staying, because not everyone knows how to respond to a test they didn't know they were taking. Not everyone will follow up after silence. Not everyone will fight for access to someone who keeps pulling away. And so the pattern repeats. The brain concludes, see, I was right. People leave, and it tests even harder next time. The way out is not to stop caring. It's to start noticing the moment you catch yourself pulling back to see what someone does. That is not instinct. That is history. That is an old wound asking a new person to prove something they were never responsible for. And the quiet, difficult, necessary work is learning to tell the difference between genuine red flags and the echoes of people who hurt you a long time ago. Because some people will stay. Some people will follow up. Some people are exactly who they appear to be. But you will never know if you keep testing instead of trusting. If something in this felt familiar, share it with someone who needed to hear it. And subscribe, because on this channel, we use the science of the mind to understand the parts of ourselves that are hardest to explain.